Hi everyone, we are wrapping up our new material. We're not done using it, but this will be the last new information for the rest of this week and next week, because we'll be practicing using all of the things we've done Monday, yesterday, and today to get you familiar with it, because we will be using it throughout the entire year. So the last little bit we have to cover today is going to be about abdominal quadrants and about abdominopelvic regions. So we'll start with the quadrants. The prefix quad means four. So there are four abdominal quadrants, as you can see right here in this image. Abdominal quadrants will be used by doctors or nurses when they're performing abdominal assessments. There are so many organs in the abdominal cavity. This just kind of makes it easier to figure out what the problem might be. So a couple important things to note are listed here for you before we get into the names of the quadrants and what organs we would find in them. The navel or the belly button is going to be a landmark that you would use. And so it would be right around here where these two planes cross. So that reference point is going to kind of tell you where those quadrants meet. Another thing to note is that when you're using left and right, it refers to anatomical position and not your own left and right. So again, we've talked about this already, but we'll review it again now. When you're looking at this picture, this side where I'm moving the cursor right now is our left, and this side is our right. However, right and left needs to refer to the patient as they are in anatomical position. So this would be the left, and this would be the right. Okay, so if you keep those straight, it will make it much easier for you. If we look at our quadrants, these are pretty easy to remember because they're going to be upper and lower quadrants, and then right and left as well. So we have a right upper quadrant. The organs that we would find in that quadrant are going to be the liver, or part of the liver, I should say, because the liver is a large organ right there. That large brown organ is our largest internal organ. The stomach, part of the stomach again. Okay, the gallbladder, which we have right there, the duodenum, which is part of the small intestine, the right kidney, which would be back here behind everything, behind the liver, a pancreas, part of the pancreas, which is behind the stomach, and the right adrenal gland, which sits on top of the right kidney. So the right upper quadrant would be right here. Okay, you're going to be moving on your notes this label onto the diagram so that we can be sure to, let me do that again, so we can be sure to label the diagram appropriately. You'll have these notes again will be in your Google Drive for you to refer to always. So if we move the right upper quadrant label onto the diagram, that's where we want it. This would be the right upper quadrant. Next, we have the right lower quadrant. That's going to include the appendix, which hangs off of the large intestine, some of the reproductive organs, and the right ureter, which goes from the kidney down to the bladder. So if we move that onto our diagram, okay, that's our right lower quadrant. The left upper quadrant is going to include the rest of the liver, the rest of the stomach, the rest of the pancreas. It will have the left kidney, the spleen, which we can't see in this diagram. It's like back underneath the stomach, and the left adrenal gland, which is on top of the left kidney. So we need to label the left upper quadrant then. And finally, we have the left lower quadrant. That's going to include the left ureter, which goes from the kidney to the bladder, as well as reproductive organs. We need to label that as well. So your diagram should look very close to this. They don't need to be in the same exact spot, but they need to be in the appropriate quadrant. Okay, so it's fairly easy. It's just going to be a way to make things easier for doctors and nurses to identify potential problems that a patient might be having. So for example, a common cause of pain in the right lower quadrant would be appendicitis. So if we see here, the right lower quadrant, the appendix is there. Okay, so it just kind of helps narrow things down for them to eliminate and figure out what's actually wrong with the patient. Now, because there are so many organs, Here we also use regions. So we have abdominopelvic regions, and there are 9 of them. We have, it kind of looks like I guess a tic-tac-toe board. So we have 9 different abdominopelvic regions. They're going to be, the 3 on the right and the 3 on the left are going to have right or left in front of their name. And then the ones that go down the center don't have a right or left because they're in the middle. So the upper 2 on the outside are both going to have the same name, just right versus left. Same thing with the middle on the outer 2, the same name but right versus left. And then the same thing with the bottom outer 2, the same name, just right or left. So the right hypochondriac region is up here, would be this upper region right there. I'm going to go over where the names come from with you because to me it's always easier to remember what something is and where it is, what it means if I know the parts of the word. So I'm going to go over that with you because I think that will help you too. So the right hypochondriac region, right, it tells us it's on the right. Again, it's the patient's right anatomical position, not your right. The prefix hypo means below. So if you think of if somebody has hypothermia, that means they've been out in the cold too long and their body temperature has dropped pretty low. So hypo means below, as in hypothermia, below the temperature that you should be. So hypo again is below, and chondriac, that word refers to cartilage, and it refers to the cartilage that would be on our ribs right here. So below where the rib cartilage is kind of where that name comes from. The right lumbar region would be next if we're moving straight down the right side of that person's body. Lumbar refers to the lower back. The vertebrae that's there are your lumbar vertebrae. So that's where that name is coming from. And then the bottom one on the right is the right iliac region. This is a capital I and then an L, so it's I-L-I-A-C. It's not 2 L's, so just make sure you take note of that. Iliac comes from the iliac crest on the hip bone that would be right here. So this lower right section would be the right iliac region. Next we're going to go down the outer left side on the opposite side. Again, the names are the same, it's just on the left side of the body instead. So left hypochondriac region, hypo still means below, chondriac refers to the rib cartilage, so right below the ribs on that side, the left side of the body. Next one down, left lumbar vertebra or lumbar region refers to the lumbar vertebrae. And then the lower one on the left side of the body is, again, iliac, comes from the iliac crest of the hip bone. Now we're going to go down the center from top to bottom. So we have the epigastric region. Epi means above or over, and gastric refers to stomach. So you can see how right here this is the stomach. So this section is right over or above the stomach. In the middle, we have the umbilical region. Umbilical again means navel or belly button, the umbilicus. So that is right in the center area. Then our last one that we need to talk about is the hypogastric region. Just like we talked about, hypo means below for hypochondriac. Hypogastric here means below the stomach. So very way down here. Okay. We're going to label them now, so you'll be doing that on yours. So if we were going to go straight down the list, the epigastric region, remember epi means above and gastric refers to the stomach. So that's going to be this top center. Okay. Hypogastric. Hypo means below. Gastric refers to stomach. Okay, so you'll need to move that one to the appropriate spot, which would be down here. Next, we have the left hypochondriac region. Hypochondriac refers to below the ribs, and we need to keep the left and the right straight. So it's not your left and right again, it is the patient's right and left, which means it's opposite for us. So right over here is going to be the left hypochondriac region. Next one down on our list, left iliac. Iliac, remember, refers to the iliac crest of the hips. So this one, hopefully it's weird to not kind of ask you in person, but I'm trying to give you a pause to give you a second to think about the answer. So left iliac, iliac refers to the iliac crest of the hips, so that would be down here. We have one more left region remaining. Left lumbar, lumbar is going to be in the lower back, so that would be here on this side. Next, we have the right hypochondriac region. These are just all across from the left. It's just on the right side instead. So this part should be easy once we have those. But again, hypochondriac refers to below the ribs. Right lumbar refers to, oh, I tried to put them in alphabetical order and I failed, huh? Let me fix those because that will be different on your notes when you do this. So next we have right iliac. That's going to be down here across from the left iliac. Now we have right lumbar in the middle on the right of the patient. And we are left with the umbilical region. That is the very center, okay, where the umbilicus or the belly button would be. Okay. We just have one more thing to talk about. We're going to go over the organs that we would have in each of these regions because we will be using that to refer to organ locations later on. So the right hypochondriac region is going to include part of the liver, the right kidney, the gallbladder, and parts of the small and large intestine. The right lumbar region includes the ascending colon, which is this part right here, part of the small intestine, and the right kidney, which again would be back here. You can't see it. Right iliac is going to have the appendix, which you can kind of see hanging down here. The cecum, which is this part of the large intestine, part of the ascending colon, and part of the small intestine. So you can see the intestines take up a lot of room. They're listed in a lot of different regions. In the middle here, we have upper middle, we have the epigastric region. It's going to have the liver, stomach, spleen, duodenum, which is part of the small intestine, adrenal glands, and the pancreas. In the middle, you're going to have the duodenum, part of the small intestine, as well as the transverse colon, which we have right here. Hypogastric is going to have the bladder, which would be down here. The sigmoid colon over here, part of the small intestine, and reproductive organs, which you can't really see on this diagram. Finally, we have part of the liver, stomach, pancreas, the left kidney, the spleen, and parts of the small and large intestine in the left hypochondriac region. In the left lumbar region, you have the descending colon, which would be behind the small intestine right there, which is also found part of it in the left lumbar, and the left kidney would be, again, behind everything there. Then the left iliac region, you have part of the sigmoid colon, which is where it curves and has kind of like an S shape towards the end of the colon, which is the large intestine. Descending colon, and part of the small intestine as well. Okay, so you're going to be using these. If you didn't fill out the notes while we were going through the lesson, please make sure you go back and do that. You're also going to have just a few kind of check-in questions to do and submit for today so that we can just make sure you get some practice and you're familiar with these terms. If you have any questions, please send me a message or come to a Zoom session and I will help you get all this figured out. Otherwise, have a great day.